Good afternoon and welcome back to the channel. I am Beckeltar and we're going to do another reading and react video to Ashes of Creation from the latest news coming out of Intrepid Studios. This is an Alpha 1 scheduled update. So this came out a little earlier today. I have had a chance to read it. So it's not I guess a full-on reaction. But I thought, why not give it a read and let's talk about it, because I have talked a lot about the Alpha 1 and delays and how we should not be surprised when they happen. That of all the times to have a delay, this is the time in development to have them and be okay with it. It's when you're into the betas and all of a sudden we found a big issue that now has delayed. That is when you kind of scratch your head and you kind of go, wait a minute, how come you didn't find this earlier? So having delays at this point in development is good news. Okay, this means they are finding the things that they need to find early before they've built up on top of those things and those bugs become ingrained into the code in such a way that you can't fix it. And I played a game called Defiance from Tryon Worlds, and yeah, it had some of those kind of bugs that no matter what they did, they could never get rid of them because those bugs were fundamental to the code. They would have to basically rewrite the game. In fact, they tried doing that exact same thing, but the foundational base code was I don't want to say bad, but those bugs were so deep in there that even when they released there's Defiance, which was released in 2013, so it was called D13 or Defiance 13, and then they re-released Defiance for the year 2050. So it really wasn't much different from the original. They actually added a class system and they changed the leveling and a bunch of other stuff. But the quests, the missions and stuff were basically, it was the same game. They just tried to recreate the game more to, I think, how they wanted to try and do it originally and just wasn't able to. And some of the core bugs were still there. So the very base code that they tried to build Defiance 2050 on still had bugs in it that they could not get rid of. They could not squash. That's kind of where we're at with Ashes of Creation in their development, right? This is that deep foundational code that you want to squash all these bugs. You want to take all the time you need to take care of all of these bugs. And so I, for one, am not upset. I'm not disappointed. I don't have a negative feeling about this delay. Okay, and I will still say today there will be more. This is not the last one. Yeah. So let's proceed. I just really wanted to give a strong disclaimer that this is going to happen. But there are things that we do, or I may bring up or have to bring up in relation to this, and how they're dealing with things that I think are also worthy of comment. So let's get going. Starts off with my friends. So it's not glorious community. It's just my friends. So that's good. That it's setting a tone, right? Steven sets a lot of tones, and you can definitely tell by what he's saying, how he says it, where kind of he's at. So by saying my friends, this is that, hey, we need to have a sit. Come to the kitchen table, and let's have a conversation. Where usually it's Glorious Ashes community, stuff like that, and that's more like you'd want to stand in the town square and just shout out, right? That's like what you see in every movie where the boy loves the girl and he just wants to shout it from the rooftops kind of thing. Um, in this case, this is just my friends. It's very actually subdued, which I think is something that we can appreciate. Some recent developments have caused me to reevaluate our upcoming test schedules and make some necessary adjustments. I will be moving the NDA release and the June 1st Alpha 1 start date to July. I know this is not ideal, and you have no idea how much it pains me to disappoint our community, but it is my responsibility to make these difficult decisions in order to ensure the test is successful. Testing for the 14th of May will continue for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with an updated schedule being sent to testers today. I'm going to explain in detail the reasons for this and hope you'll understand the need and agree with the benefits of this decision. So, uh, so there was, from what I understand, supposed to be a week long. I think it was supposed to be a week long. No NDA testing of the game. So that means I could play and stream the game to everybody, to anybody who's watching. Maybe I was wrong and it's only 4 days or 3 days. Either way, right? That's what it was. It was a 3 or 4 day weekend. So that is now that's still on, but it is an NDA weekend, which means I don't think I'll be able to play in it, not unless they get an NDA to me very, very quickly, which they could. Right? They could absolutely shoot out an email. I haven't gotten one yet, as of the time of this recording. And you just basically sign your name to it. You e-signature it, which makes it legal and binding. And then basically it says that you're under NDA. You cannot produce publicly recordings or images. There are certain things you may not be able to talk about, and so let's look at what we have here. So he does have May 14th through July 9th intermittent Alpha 1 preview spot testing. So what that means is they might fire up everything for a day or two and want to test specific parts of what they're doing. So what you would get in this kind of a situation, at least what's happened in the past when I've done alphas, you just get an email, usually within 24 hours notice, sometimes a little longer, and it'll say, hey, we're firing up the servers. We want you to test these features. So it might say, hey, we want everybody to gather in this location, and we're going to simulate a siege, or we're going to simulate a caravan, or we're going to, we want everybody to run around in this particular zone, or we want everybody to run into this dungeon. And so it'll be fairly specific, fairly targeted as far as what they want you to do. I've been in an alpha where they literally wanted everybody to cast the same spell over and over for like an hour. They just wanted us to just, cast, find a mob. You could do PvP. It didn't matter. They wanted, that was the spell. Don't do anything else but use that spell as often as possible. I don't know why. But that's, who knows what kind of data set that they're looking for, right? But they'll do little odd things like that. Sometimes it'll be just testing a loot table, right? So they'll say, hey, we want everybody to kill mobs. And then they'll see if the loot table's working, right? So are all these mobs producing the loot that's expected? Because maybe there's a glitch in there, and somebody came up with a legendary that wasn't supposed to drop or something like that in testing, right? So it's like, okay, well, how did this happen? Was it part of the loot table, or is it part of, maybe a mob accidentally wandered into a different zone by accident, and or spawned there by accident, and that zone has a chance to spawn that item, but that particular creature should not be, right? Because who thinks in World of Warcraft if you go kill Hogger, that Hogger should be dropping some level 110 legendary, right? I don't think that can happen. So that's kind of what spot testing is like. It's just checking on different mechanics, different things. They're usually very specific, very targeted as far as what they want people to do. They might say, "Hey, we need everybody to gather in this area because they're testing the server load capacity." They might just tell you to log in and log out continuously. Hey, for the next hour, you just log in, get all the way to the game, and then log out and then try again, right? Just to test, just to stress test login servers, because we know login servers sometimes are the issue to a game as well. So it's yeah, it's all fun and games, right? As far as that goes. And then they have Alpha 1 preview weekend. So this is at no NDA. And the no NDA is where I can publicize basically my gameplay, right? So I can stream it. Hello, Lunar. I can take screenshots and post those, and or depending on the language of the NDA, I can talk about it, right? Like there's some NDAs that you cannot talk about it. It is
Stay a while and listen.
it is your lips are sealed, right? All you could say is yeah, I'm in it. Like you can't even say is there. I have one in NDA I was under. I could not even admit that I was in the game, in the testing. There was yeah, I couldn't admit that I was part of the test. If anybody said, "Hey man, are you in the alpha?" There's an alpha. Like you got to play dumb. They're usually not quite that strict. Most of the time, it's you can admit that you're in it, but it'll say, really you shouldn't say that you're in it, mainly because you run into situations where something might slip. Right? Look at Tom Holland with Spider-Man. Right? The guy's a leak machine because you ask a question, and depending on the answer, is what happens. So and then they have a no NDA Alpha 1 July 14th through August 13th. So that's the month long. So moving on. So he says, allow me to first recap primary purposes and goals of our Alpha 1 testing phase. And this is the other thing that has been a concern of mine that I've reiterated a lot of times is people that get into the alpha don't understand what a real alpha is. And think about everything I just talked about as far as the spot tests, right? Uh, is that what an alpha is? Or not? Is that what that's what an alpha? Or is that what a game sounds like? Right? Does that sound like you're playing a game in that particular instance? Um, so server deployment and performance testing. Stress test or server deployments and player concurrency numbers with high volumes of player activity and interactions. Stand up multiple world server deployments across different geographical regions. Soak test server grid health over a continuous period of production use. That's just how many people can be online as close to maximum capacity as possible. And before you start to see server degradation, right? The network code starts to break down. You start to see lag, databases start to fail, stuff like that. Evaluate current networking architecture and identify non-performant code and areas for additional optimizations and refactoring. And again, it's kind of the same idea is how many people can you pack onto a server? Where are they on the server? How does the server number crunch, where everybody is and stuff like that and so on. I'm not 100%, but that's kind of what I'm guessing. I've done alpha testing, but when it comes to a specific language, I'm not a developer. test our build strategy and hotfix deployment procedures, account services, web-based systems, launcher and patcher stability, and cloud-based infrastructure. So again, so this is where one of those tests that you would do in an alpha is we're all playing the game, but they've found a bug in the code somewhere. That can they fix that bug without kicking everybody off the server, right? And forcing you to patch the client on your side. That's kind of like a hot fix, right? So that's where what'll happen is, depending on where that hot fix is implemented, you might download and install that hotfix when you enter in a certain zone or something like that, just to kind of space it out so not everybody's getting the hotfix at the same time, because that would cause lag. So you find ways to have that fix implemented at certain positions and stuff like that. System functionalities and behavior testing, the core state node features, experience collection, the ability for nodes to collect and store acute experience from players in their zone of influence, and for this data to persist in global hierarchy of the node matrix. So this is good. This is definitely something we need to see. So as you all know, or may know, when we're leveling up in the game, if we do most of our leveling in a particular node, well, then that node also gets a experience boost. And that experience boost is what levels the node. So this is just basically making sure that the node can collect that experience, and that level of experience will persist even if we as the player have moved on or logged off. Basically, does it still count all of that experience? Propagation ability for nodes to advance in stages, reflecting the appropriate advancements in the following: culture, layout, quest hooks, spawners, crafting, and processing stations, NPCs, service buildings, merchant tables, prop placement, housing, sedition, government systems, election appointment terms, and mid-interface and taxes. Basically everything that goes into the node every time it levels up. Player character systems in their core state. Experience collection and persistence. Experience death effects, corruption, and flagging, inventory systems, character, paper doll, and equipable items, property ownership and player storage, stats and waterfall derivatives, combat and ability systems, tab action states, race and class selection, and their customization, movement, character states, looting and party management systems. So I think that's a lot of that. Some of that would be client based, I think. But some of it, like loot and whatever, is also going to be server side. Party management, that could be client based. Ancillary systems in their core state. So again, core state basically means it's just running on the most fundamental aspects of their rule sets or of their code. So a lot of the fluff may not be there, right? A lot of the options may not be there. This is just the raw, like for example, this next one says caravans, right? It's the first one, caravan. So this is literally, can you take a caravan from point A to point B? Well, what does it take to do that? Well, it has to spawn. So does the very basic spawn instructions work? Yes. Can you move it from A to B, right? Can it pass over terrain and stuff like that? Yes. When you get to the other end, what happens to the caravan? Well, you unload your stuff, and then the caravan should go poof, right? That instance of the caravan should end, doesn't end appropriately. Because the last thing you want is your caravan to get parked outside of wherever you are, and that's as far as it goes. And it stays there. And now you can use a caravan as like a bank or something, right? But anybody can come by and steal from it. Does the system keep any memory of that caravan? And so if you get, stacks of these caravan memories in the code, well, obviously that's going to bung things up, right? So you don't want any of that. So ancillary systems of caravans, drop, spawn, reward, and table adaptations, player trading, mount, and vehicle systems, raid and party functionality, guild progression and persistence, guild hierarchy, chat systems, customized AI behavior trees, boss functionality, harvesting prerequisites. So this is all very, very basic stuff. Procedural resource spawners, recipes, and craft station systems, interactable containers and objects, global event manager, siege and battleground systems, open world traversal and dungeon design, quest and narrative dialogue setup. So a lot of the videos that I've done, I have said, hey, we're not seeing evidence of these fundamental systems being actually used or showcasing these systems. Everything in here is what I've been talking about in that regard. And so this is everything, yeah, every that's kind of the stuff I've been talking about. So what this tells me is the reason why they haven't been um, showing anything is because, again, these things, earlier, right? They've shown us a node level up, right? Earlier in the game, they've shown us caravans, months ago, months and months ago. So they've changed a lot of the stuff that's in the code or how that code works, and whatever changes that they've done, they haven't felt are ready to show us yet. So that tells me that there's been a lot of reworking and whatnot done on those core elements and systems, and that's good, right? That's good, because as you build your game and come across other things, you're going to run into these things. So the above is not a comprehensive list of everything being tested. Jesus. In Alpha 1, but it hits the primary points. There are many other data metrics being collected for our approach to the content production pipeline, systems, definitions, and refactoring as well, not to mention a plethora of technical art implications and optimizations, but you get the gist. This is a very fundamental test that will impact the direction of development post-Alpha 1, so you can understand the importance of testing and its need for player participation, attention, and feedback. So yes, you need participation because you need the numbers, you need attention, and that's basically everybody trying to break everything all the time. And feedback, how did you break it? Can you break it in different ways? And can you break it the same way multiple times, right? That's kind of the feedback aspect of it. Or when you do something, does it feel natural? Does it look natural? Is it intuitive, right? Or is it jarring? Or because there's that element as well. You want to maintain some of that immersiveness. Over the last month, several new developments, both internally and externally, have led me to err on the side of caution and postpone the NDA release and Alpha 1 dates to July. If it had only been any one of these issues, we would have powered through it. First, with the inclusion of siege systems and the combat backend revamp, our internal code lock dates slipped a bit and ate into our Q&A and optimization timeline. So what this basically means is they're going to have an internal document that is going to have goals as far as dates and times of achievement. It's the stuff that we would love to see, right? It's that roadmap that we would love to see. But the problem is if we see that roadmap, we will then try to hold them to said roadmap, and you can't. This is development. That's why they don't tell us, because there are people out there that be like, well, it says in this document, that you're going to have this ready by May 14th. And it's like, yeah, well, stuff happens, and that's what happens in development. I mean, you got to remember they're using a game engine that wasn't created for an MMO, was never created for an MMO. And so they're having to add a lot of custom code into that to make it function for an MMO. That in itself is going to create a lot of issues, because every time they update that engine, they have to then update all of their code or how that code attaches to that engine. You don't know how that's going to happen because they are not the ones updating the engine, right? Unreal updates the engine, and then they have to take that update and update it as a third party, and then their stuff has to then get updated within the confines of whatever Unreal did to their engine. So they have to understand the update. They have to then figure out their own patches, workarounds, and fixes for it. It takes time, and it's not like they instantly know what the answer is. That's why I, again, reiterate all the time, delays are expected, especially now, and it's a good thing, right? We want them to catch all of this stuff. So there are internal dates. So they might say, hey, we estimate 3 months to do X, and then we'll QA for a month. Well, now, if it takes 3.5 months to make X happen, well, their QA is still 30 days long. So they're still going to do their QA, right, for that month, because they've determined it's going to take at least 30 days of whatever they go through as part of the testing to adequately test whatever that system is to their satisfaction through whatever testing measures. It's not like QA is every single day, but it might be, hey, we're going to send out an email in 72 hours. We want all of you in the testing group to come on and do XYZ. And then so you have to hope that everybody got the email, everybody shows up. If not enough people show up, you got to do it again. So you got to send out another email, in X amount of time, we're going to do, XYZ, and then you hope more people show up so you can kind of get the numbers that you want. So you have that kind of stuff. And then, their QA team is probably testing other things at the same time as well. So if you delay a QA, then, for X, well, then the team, was going to go from X to maybe Y after that 30 days is now, again, they're behind a little bit. So it throws everything out of whack. So, you have to deal with that. While our feature timelines typically include a 30% padding to account for unknowns, smart, and that's pretty standard, I think. I knew including this for our testing would be cutting it close. I made the call to take this risk due to its benefit for the overall testing period. The siege systems now being in place are still going through bug testing before they are ready for prime time. Oftentimes, the bug fixing QA period can really tighten things up pretty quickly, so I gave it until the end of this weekend to evaluate. Suffice to say, these systems could benefit from another week or two of testing and bug fixing before being ready to include in Alpha 1, which is exactly what I just said, right? The front side, it took a little longer to cram sieges into the game, and therefore it also delayed the QA, which, so now QA needs a little more time, and that's okay, right? I completely get it. I understand that's perfectly normal, and nobody should be mad. Basically, I do these videos because I don't want people crapping on the game. I don't want people crapping on the devs, because they've had these other experiences with early access and green lighting and stuff like that, where the developers are still doing the same kind of thing, but they're kind of doing it on the run, right? And so you get a game that is playable, but it's not anywhere near what the finished product is expected to be. Like for Valheim, for example, I expect the finished product of Valheim to be noticeably different than what those of us who are playing it today are playing. I expect the game to change. Think about Minecraft. Right? Look at Minecraft today, and look at Minecraft even when it first released. It is almost a completely different game. The fundamental mechanics are still there. They're still the same. But the game itself is completely different. And that's the kind of situation that we could be in with the alphas, is what we see is setting up a false expectation of what is the expected outcome. And so you don't want people going in thinking that, oh, this is what Ashes is going to be like, and then going all over the place saying, they lied about this and it's not that and stuff. When nobody's lying, they just haven't gotten there yet, or they're not misleading anything, because the game, again, is just not there yet. That they need to make sure that the base stuff still works. Again, think about Minecraft, that you can put one block where it's supposed to be, certain blocks fall, so you can your food grows, cave generates properly, and stuff, or what's in the ocean. Make sure your animals or your mobs behave the way that you want them to. And then you can add to that once you kind of have those fundamental basics down of here's basic. I mean, I remember when zombies were dumb as hell in Minecraft. Now zombies can path around traps and pits and stuff like that, where before they just went at you straight. If you dug a hole in front of a zombie, it would just stand at the hole, or it would just fall into the hole, and then you could just trap it. So the game has evolved, and that's kind of the same thing that happens here. Second, our timeline for the move back to the studio has been accelerated. Good stuff. If they can get back into the studio, that means the development will also accelerate. So this is a huge plus. This is a huge positive. This might seem like a small thing, but it's not. It's pretty huge. And this would help put our move-in dates in the middle of June test window. That would have been a difficult task to juggle for the team. Yet we were prepared to do so and had plans in place for how to accomplish this. However, given the other factors of the delay equation, it made more sense to get the move out of the way first and allow our teams to be in studio together during the testing period. And I would say that is huge because, well, what was that other thing they wanted to check on? Where was it? It was in here somewhere. Had to do with hot fixes. Well, how do you do hot fixes? You kind of have to, you know, be there, right, for the hot fix. You have to find the bug, say, hey, I can fix that, clickety, clickety, click on the keyboard, upload, and kind of that's your hot fix, right? And then we kind of get that hot fix via the client or whatnot. And sometimes you might not even know a hot fix even happened, right? It's just something pretty minor. And when you have a team of people in the same room, or in the same building, that hotfix is going to be a lot faster generated than having to Skype or Zoom call, 3 or 4 different people, and they're all doing their own little bit, and it's a slower process. So don't discount this part as being minor. This is a major. I would say this is almost a bigger deal than this part, than the whole QA stuff, right? Because that's just a delay. The same QA is going to happen regardless, right? It's just you've just moved it down a week or two. Having everybody in the same building, working next to each other, or within a couple of floors of each other, where you can just easily network and meet, and stuff like that. That is huge. Like that's just massive. Okay, it's just massive. It's like, think about like a whole family dinner, right? And you're all trying to talk to each other via like Skype or Zoom. You got a lot of talking over each other, right? You get a lot of potential miscommunication and stuff. Versus you're all at the kitchen table where you can throw food at each other when somebody says something asinine, like my family. Finally, several new expansion launches for other live games were announced that would have coincided with our test starting June 1st. I think World of Warcraft and Elder Scrolls Online, I think, are 2 of them. But, yeah. We estimate roughly 25% of our current testing pool are active players across these titles combined. This fact presents us with forcing our testers to choose between participating in our testing environment, which will be a long and arduous responsibility. Notice he's not saying fun. It's not fun. Trust me, like I said, I will stream everything of the alpha, and I think I said that in my last video. It might not be fun. It might be very boring. It might be tedious, because it can be. So he's not saying it's fun. He's saying arduous. Like I said, it might be as simple as log in and log out for an hour. And that's all you do. Log in, log out. Or do nothing but character creation, right? So anyway, or playing an expansion with their friends and other popular titles. As I outlined earlier, this testing period is an important one. It will require not only participation, but also the attention and feedback from both our testing audience and the broader Ashes of Creation community and general public. Coupled with the above facts, media coverage and content creators would have been asked to cover either Alpha 1 for Ashes of Creation or the other live launches on June 1st. So I like this part is, they are appreciating that, I'm a content creator. I know I don't create a lot of it, but I do stream a lot, so that's content creation. They understand that my community might be bigger because of another game that I might create content for. That, although I do want to make Ashes of Creation content, look at Asmongold, right? WoW is his bag. So is he going to not jump into the Burning Crusade launch? No, he's not, and instead go into the Alpha 1 for Ashes. He knows where his audience lies, right? He knows that he will get bigger numbers, he'll get more feedback, more subs and stuff like that if he kind of sticks with the Burning Crusade. And if the next weekend, the Alpha 1 did, or Ashes did an Alpha 1, his community would tolerate it. Yes, he'd get other numbers from new people, but he's not going to see the same numbers, most likely. So, yeah. So this is smart, right? This is the marketing aspect of this. So that's what this bid all. This is the marketing aspect of Ashes of Creation. They understand where their marketing is going to lie. They also understand that as a content creator, if I have to make the choice and I make the wrong choice, I pay for that. While the primary purpose of this testing and NDA release is to collect data, gather feedback, and test systems, it is also an opportunity to grow our community, building on the already millions of people who are following our development and participating in the success of the project. So, with the above information, I made the decision to position our Alpha 1 presentation and testing period in the month of July instead of June. If you're already a member of the Alpha 1 testing group, you will still be testing on May 14th. This testing will remain under NDA. So again, that means although I have paid for Alpha 1, as I'm sure many tens of thousands of people likely have, I am not currently under that NDA. I have not received one. Therefore, I will not be a part of the May 14th NDA. And I know that's going to upset some of you, because we've been talking about how, basically for that weekend, I was going to just stream the bag out of the game. And now I won't be able to unless I get some form of an NDA delivered to me via email within, basically the next 24 hours. Which there's nothing in here that states that I should look forward to that as we continue to read. Additionally, during the month of June, there will be spot/stress testing that you'll have an opportunity to participate in. Also, given the delay in our testing schedule, I will be extending our refund policy from 30 days to 90 days going forward for all pre-orders, retroactive from May 5th, out of respect for those who purchased anticipating the NDA release for this month. So, again, that says that people like me who bought the Alpha 1 on or after May 5th, we are not going to be part of the May 14th testing. That's what that's telling me. Don't expect to get in. So we can get a refund, or I can get a refund on that money. I'm not going to. I expected a delay. I've talked many times about there being delays, and it's again, it's normal. This is just the way it is, and I'm okay with that. As well, we will continue to showcase in-game footage during our live streams this month and next with the launch of our content creator program, which I filled out the other day. This will also provide some additional time for those of you who are interested in creating content around Ashes of Creation to prepare. Again, announcing a delay is not the highlight of my week, but it is my responsibility to protect the project and position ourselves for success. While I will take this on the chin for the next few weeks, if it means a better Alpha 1 presentation with more time for QA, a smoother studio move, and better participation and coverage overall for the test, then I think it's the right call. Hope you agree. Your faithful creative director, Steven Shreve. So here's the one bit that I can say I do have a concern for, is a better Alpha 1 presentation. It's an Alpha 1. If it looks like dog crap, then it's going to look like dog crap from the perspective of somebody who wants to play the game. From the position of an alpha tester, an Alpha 1, an alpha tester. If it's dog crap, that's good, because that means I can help scoop it up. I get to help clean that up. I get to help participate more in that process of catching bugs, finding glitches, reporting glitches, and all of those fundamental things, right? You have there's satisfaction. I'm gonna be honest. There is satisfaction when you find a bug and you report it, right? You find a bug, you test the bug out, you fill out the report sheet, you take your video clip or your still images, you submit them through their system, not publicly, because you're under NDA. But if it's a non-NDA, then you just pinpoint what part of your video. But you get a deep sense of satisfaction. You actually get a really deep sense of pride because you found something wrong with the game, because that's what the alpha is for. The alpha is all about finding everything wrong with the game so that somebody can fix it, right? So they can fix the game. That's what it's all about. And there is that sense of satisfaction that a lot of alpha testers will get when they test games. There are people, if they go through the whole alpha and they don't find one bug, they actually feel like they did a terrible job. So I don't see, Steven needs to not worry about presentation. I know he's all about that. I know you put the best foot forward and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just. Anyways, I expected delays. I called that delays would happen, and it did, and it's okay. If you take anything away from this video, it's that this is acceptable. This is perfectly okay that there's another delay, and this again won't be the last one. There will be more. And this is the best time to have these delays. This is the absolute best time because they are going to be able to find and fix these. Think about, I use the building a skyscraper reference a lot. So you're building the skyscraper, right? It's huge, it's massive. Now, say while building that skyscraper, several of the support columns, the foundational support columns, is faulty. And nobody caught it, right? The inspector didn't catch it. The craftsman didn't catch it. But for whatever reason, you got bad concrete, you got bad rebar. It was just a bad architectural design, right? Somebody just, wasn't quite figuring out weight-bearing surfaces and stuff like that appropriately. So maybe the foundational cores are smaller than they should have been, or there's a few less of them than there should have been, right? And now you've built this skyscraper. You've built 110 stories on top of all this. And at first, it's fine, right? Nobody knows. But over time, cracks start to appear in the foundational core. Well, they'll go in and they'll fix some of those cracks, right? They'll patch them up. But if there's something that's really wrong, well, a building that was supposed to last 50 years, they might be like, dude, we got to bring this down. Like, we have to dismantle the top 50 floors because it will not bear that weight. So we actually have to go up and take it down because this whole building is going to fall over. It's going to collapse. Something really catastrophic is going to happen. Well, this is where they're building that foundation. This is where they're pouring that concrete. This is where they're setting that rebar. This is where they're looking at the design and rechecking their math for the weight variances and bearings and whatnot of the structure, right? This is where they're at. We want them to get it right. They need to get this right for their own financial future, right? If Ashes of Creation comes out and it becomes a failure because it's got some serious bugs that were never caught, never fixed in time, or cannot be fixed, like what happened in Defiance, then when they try to come up with another game or another product, they're not going to have that public confidence. They're not going to have that feeling of, hey, this is a company worth putting my money into. Think about what's happening with CD Projekt Red right now. Everybody loved The Witcher. Witcher was hugely successful. And so when Cyberpunk came out, huge expectations, massive disappointments. Massive disappointments. We don't want that for any company that produces a good game. We don't want that at all. We don't want people to fail. Even if you don't like the company, like EA, right? Who likes EA? You don't want the people at the company necessarily to fail, like the coders, the developers, and stuff like that. It's mainly the suits and investors that make the company suck. So, anyways, if you are watching this on YouTube or anywhere else, please like, subscribe, hit that bell button, whatever you need to do. Leave a comment. I like reading comments, and as much as possible, I try to give everybody a thumb up because I really do appreciate the comment, even if you disagree with me. And many times I will also try to comment to your comments so that you know that I actually read it and it's not somebody just going by going, yeah, click, click, click. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys later. Ciao for now.